Welcome back to 1111 with Chaga Tea. I'm Fiona Barrett and I'm very excited to have a wonderful guest today, Susan Wadia-Ells, with us, talking about a subject very dear to our hearts, prevention of breast cancer. But I'm going to let my wonderful co-host Roberta introduce her.
Thank you very much, Fiona. And I am Roberta Chaga, and I'm very, very happy to be sitting next to Susan Wadia-Ells, who comes to us from the North Shore up in Manchester. And I've met you a couple of times.
Yes.
And you're here to talk to us about a very, very important subject. So I'd love for you to start telling us what that is.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Sure, thanks, Roberta.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the founding director of an organization, a nonprofit, very small, basically volunteer-based at this point, nonprofit called the National Breast Cancer Prevention Project, / Busting Breast Cancer. And our whole goal is very limited. We're one of the very few organizations in the country, unfortunately, but here we are, who are trying to teach women simple lifestyle, inexpensive lifestyle habits that can really ratchet down your breast cancer risk. And to do that, we've come out with an ebook, a 7-series ebook, which we're going to be hoping to print very soon. Volume 1 is out right now as an ebook, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about what these 7 simple steps are that help women ratchet down their risk of ever getting breast cancer.
And I've heard there's different areas of the world that have higher and lower rates. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. What we've known apparently for about 20 years now is that the rates of invasive breast cancer in New England, as well as in the northern mid-states of, let's say, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, is that women where there's less sun have much more breast cancer than where there's more sun. And so the knowledge has been translated into, we get vitamin D3 from the sun. And the average vitamin D3 blood levels of people who live in New England, as well as in Minnesota, Wisconsin, etc., tends to be much lower than people who are in much sunnier places, even such a place as Colorado, because it's high. So we're basically low and away from the sun. So that the further south you go and the further west you go, the higher the vitamin D coming from the sun, the UVB rays, and the higher the vitamin D3 levels. And we now know that vitamin D3 is probably the most important thing any woman can do to easily ratchet down her breast cancer risk.
That's very interesting and very important.
Exactly.
This is all about prevention.
It is. And the sad thing about prevention is there's no profit in prevention. And one of the reasons that there are not huge advertisements every day on television and on the internet saying, get your vitamin D3 blood level up to 60 to 80 or even 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. Take your good supplements, get out in the sun, don't burn, never burn, but get out in the sun and get yourself some decent melanin, some tanning in your skin so that you won't burn, but you'll be able to get some decent vitamin D3. And one of the reasons you don't see those wonderful advertisements is that no one will pay for them because no one can make any money off of D3 supplements, or, well, I mean, there are a few, health food stores that can make money off of supplements, and the indoor tanning salons can make money if you're able to have a very limited amount of indoor tanning through the winter. And they're trying to encourage more clients by talking about the importance of getting limited tanning. But boy, the lobby out there of the huge pharmaceutical industry and just the cancer industry alone, they would lose so much money if we were really able to cut the number of women who get breast cancer in Massachusetts, let's say, by 50%. We'd have to have a number of cancer centers close. It would be lousy for the economy, but wonderful for women. So that's what we're trying to do, is to teach women what's wonderful for us. Forget the profit motives out there, what's wonderful for us, and making sure you know what your blood level is. That's the important thing. I mean, for people out there, can you say to yourself, I know that my blood level right now was 35 last year and I did X, Y, and Z, and now my vitamin D3 blood level is at 50. If you can't tell yourself what it was and what it is now, then you're not doing the most important thing you can to ratchet down your breast cancer risk.
Mm-hmm. And I know your mission is educating women and preventing breast cancer. Can you give the people watching a little bit of a background as to what motivated and inspired you in this mission, and also your personal background and education? Because I know you have a lot of credentials that qualify you to be heading up this mission. So
Sure. Well, I guess what really got me involved in this work was I just had, like many of us, many friends, some family members who have been hit with this disease, various levels of it. Most of them happily are doing well, but my dearest friend Jeru did not do well, and she was dead within 3 years. And so I just decided that it was important to understand why, with all the money going into pink ribbons, etc., we had not a decreasing amount of breast cancer, but an increasing amount of breast cancer. And now we're seeing it increasing in women, in younger women,
yes.
Especially. And so I thought, well, I've got a background in economics, in politics. I've worked as a change agent in corporate America way back in the 70s when I was in my 20s, and was effective. And I realized from my work at Polaroid Corporation, which was then a Fortune 200 company, I realized that if you're in the right place at the right time, and you have a plan, and you have really good support behind you, you can be a national change agent. Because what we did at Polaroid was organize women and then had an affirmative action plan. And now we have women at all levels of the corporation. Polaroid doesn't exist anymore as a corporation, but we all know we have women who head up Facebook, and we have women who are financial analysts, and women who are sales reps, and women who are janitors, and you never had that in the 70s. For those of you who are younger, you never had that in the 70s. Women at Polaroid, which was a forward company, you came in as a secretary even if you had a master's degree, or maybe as a lab assistant if you had a biology degree, and you as a hand assembler if you had a high school diploma, and that meant that you earned the lowest of the low. And all of the men were coming in to be trained to be supervisors and managers and financial analysts, and women were taught, nothing's here for you, you're probably going to go get married and have kids, and of course stay working. So affirmative action changed that. So that really was my big university training, which has given me courage to say, you know what, no one's paying attention to teaching women how to stop breast cancer before it starts. Someone has to. And so now there are 3 of us doing it here today.
Yes.
And are you speaking anywhere that you would like to share? Something coming up?
Well, I'm speaking through a book, which is really important, and we really need to raise about $15,000 to publish this book. What I'm doing is putting out each of the chapters as a volume, and right now it's called the Busting Breast Cancer series, and right now volume 1 in the series is out, but it's only in as an ebook right now, and we're trying to raise a few $1,000s immediately, like in the next few weeks, so we can print so many copies of this, because a lot of people still want to buy a print copy versus an ebook. The ebook right now is $3.99, and if you go to Amazon, Kobo Books, Barnes and Noble, it's you just put in Busting Breast Cancer and Kobo Books, and it will come up. And it's on birth control drugs and why it's important for women to be looking for hormone-free birth control alternatives. If you still want to have kids, we're recommending that you have a safe hormone-free IUD. If you're finished with your kids and don't want to become pregnant anymore, then we're recommending you immediately stop birth control drugs and you go and have a tubal ligation, or you talk your partner or husband into having a vasectomy. Because we now know, and it's all in the book, exactly why breast cancer, birth control drugs, hormone replacement drugs called HRT, or and some fertility drugs, why they are ratcheting up the rates, not the risks, the rates of breast cancer in women who have been on the hormone replacement, women who are on, not past. If you're currently on birth control drugs, it means you have anywhere from double to triple the risk of developing invasive breast cancer now. And it's explained in there, the recent discoveries of how that's happening. So, so the more money we can raise, the more books we can print, and then the more we can sell, and then the more we can print, and then we'll become our own self-generating fountain here. But we really need about $15,000 to get this thing flowing. And I can explain what the 7 volumes are. Would that be helpful?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure
Okay.
our viewers are eager to learn the 7 steps.
Okay, so the first one is just get yourself off of birth control drugs and find a hormone-free contraceptive alternative. There are really some wonderful ones out there that aren't pushed around because there's not much profit in the hormone-free ones. There's only profit in the contraceptive drugs. The second is to consider having a thermogram every year because it gives you a sense of the health of your breasts. Are your breasts inflamed? Do you have any hot spots? And at that point, if you have hot spots, then no matter what your age, you really should have a mammogram because a mammogram is the best tool we have to detect a known or a suspected tumor. But for younger women and for older women who do not suspect that they have any tumors, the first step, because it's radiation free, is to have a thermography. Unfortunately, it's not covered by insurance yet, but we're working on that. You can have a thermography of your leg, and that's covered by insurance, but not of your boobs. Now, explain that, and here we go. A third important thing is to, as we're saying, vitamin D3. Make sure that through indoor and outdoor tanning, safe tanning, don't you dare burn, and taking significant supplements. It could be 5,000 units a day, it could be more than that, but certainly at least 8,000 is what they're saying, until you have got your blood level up to this at least 50 nanograms per milliliter, which is a very small amount in your blood, but you've got to get it up there. And then there's a biological mechanism that blocks breast tumors from forming, which is incredible news. Incredible news. And again, there's no money out there to have a wonderful TV ads to tell you, but these books will tell you this, so that's why we're needing this money. The money, by the way, is we're doing an Indiegogo campaign, if you've ever heard of that. INDIGOGO, and it'll be Busting Breast Cancer Indiegogo. So you can just go to that online, and then you'll see this video, and you'll see more information on the book and how we're going to spend that money. So other volumes are looking at food, of course, critical.
Yes.
For some, it's almost as important as vitamin D. In fact, it might be more important than vitamin D. But and that means you have to know what the cancer blocking foods are, and you have to know why sugar really is your worst enemy, and that there are good fats. So it's not that you have to be on a fat-free diet at all. You just need to be on a non-white diet, as we say, since the white flour and the white sugar and the white rice will all make you inflamed, and we know that inflammation of the breasts is a first step toward mutations of the breast, which is the next step toward tumors. So you want to have a really alkaline body, as Fiona, you were talking about before, and you can also have water that you want to filter the chlorine out, and you want to make it alkaline. So there are different ways you can do that. So that book, that volume will talk about that.
And not adding hormones through your food either.
Exactly, low hormone food. So the less dairy you can have, the better. Now the milk lobby, get milk or whatever, they don't appreciate this. But the important thing is when you have cultures such as Japan, China, India, very little dairy. Have you ever had a cream soup at a Japanese restaurant? I mean, think about it, right? So you really, so they have low dairy in their diet, in the traditional diets. They have 2/3 less breast cancer, traditionally, than the West. Netherlands, all we think about is dairy. One of the highest breast cancer rates in Europe. They also are north, don't forget. No vitamin D3.
That's right.
And in New England and in the Netherlands, the only time you're going to get any vitamin D3 from the sun out there is, if you're lucky, end of May, June, July, part of September. And that's only if you're there in the middle of the day.
Right.
So that's why vitamin D3 for those of us on the North Shore and in the rest of New England is critical to know what your level is. Okay, and the other 7, we have, one of the books is looking at 3 probable causes of this triple negative breast cancer, which many younger women are getting. 10% of Ashkenazi Jewish women have their cancer fix-it gene is broken when they're born. So they have they call a mutated BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene, and that's 10% of Ashkenazi Jewish women. And so they are getting hit at an earlier age, and a much higher proportion of them